So next up is our featured inspiration for this week. And this time it's brought to you by someone from our very own office, Chad Favre, Director of User Experience. And he's about to show you guys something really cool, so...
I hope.
It is so cool that it actually wouldn't run for Mecca's machine, so we have to switch computers.
Wow, but that's a Mecca's machine.
I know. And Chad even bought his own speakers because our speakers also were not sufficient.
We'll see.
No pressure.
Oh, and also...
None at all.
We're recording this, so you'll find this afterwards on Chad's YouTube channel.
Somewhere.
Anyway.
We're recording this? How is he going to record it?
Oh,
There's a little camera there.
Is there sound?
And afterwards we're recording the bar stand over there. We have a little time lapse there. So we know exactly who takes how much beer.
Did Keynote really just crash? Keynote.
We're just here to plug like the AT&T project.
Yeah. Okay, so inspiration. This is a pretty big ask. Like I was a little bit overwhelmed with this. But so the thing is, I read something recently that I thought actually really plays into inspiration really well, and it's from 1995. It's an interview with Steve Jobs. So they asked him, what's important to you in the development of a product? He said, one of the things that really hurt Apple after I left, and I've seen it at a lot of places, is the disease of thinking that a really great idea is 90% of the work. As you evolve that great idea, it changes and it grows. It never comes out like it starts, because you learn a lot more as you get into the subtleties of it, and you also find there's tremendous trade-offs that you have to make. You discover something new that is a new problem or a new opportunity to fit these things together a little differently. And it's that process that's the magic. So I don't want to show you a finished project. I don't want to show you a finished link. I don't want to show you something like that. What I want to show you is something that I've been working on personally, and it's in process. It's evolving and it's not done. But I think it's pretty neat. So it has to do with Fitbit. So if you don't know what Fitbit is, it's like this little pedometer. It's really smart. You don't have to do anything. You put it in your pocket. It counts your steps. It counts elevation, hours slept, kinda, distance traveled, calorie burns, all this stuff. And you don't ever have to even sync it. It just wirelessly syncs to either your phone or your computer. And it's awesome because it's like ubiquitous. But what they do with it is they show you something like this. And I've had it for 4 years, so that's like a 4-year-old picture of me. But anyway, they take it and they go, here's your total steps and your distance and your floors climbed and averages and your friends and how you're doing against your friends. And that's okay, but that's your week or your day, and it has a lot to do just like with how you walk and your activity. And to be completely honest, I've used this for 4 years and it hasn't really changed me at all. And I've been struggling with that a little bit. And this is once you log in, you can see a little bit more detail, but this is what they show you. They show you this thing that's like, here's your activity. Like here's a pedometer. And like that isn't all that inspiring. And so I've been talking to people about this, and they've kind of been railing against this notion of wearables and activity tracking. And they've been saying there's no point in it, that there's no purpose for doing it, because it doesn't change your behavior. It's just all these products are really bad at it. And that got me thinking, and that's part of inspiration. Inspiration is provocation. And it provoked me enough to say, like, well, what could I do with this that's different? Like, how can I just take this to a tangent that they're just not playing with anymore? So I started looking into the data. And this is what they give you. This is actually the data that gets spit out of this thing. And it's crazy. It's way worse, right?
It's a lot prettier.
So,
dashboard.
yeah, like, whatever. So I thought, well, when you're looking at data and you want to discover a story in data, the best thing you do is you look for patterns. And so you see a lot of normalcy, but you also see outliers. And the outliers are the really easy stories. So I took this and I put it into a Google spreadsheet, which let me find here. So I put it in this Google spreadsheet, and I focused on my elevation data because I knew that I'd done some interesting things with elevation. Like right after it, in 2002 right here, I decided, like, right around here, I decided to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And so then I started training to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And then right here, this one that goes way the hell up to like here, that's Mount Kilimanjaro. And like, there's this really interesting story right here for me. And then here's after Mount Kilimanjaro. I got really lazy, but even this, I was like, well, I can't really make any sense of that. I mean, yes, I can see a little bit of a story in it, but that's not that interesting. So then I started looking, you know, at months. And so here's like month 1, and here's month 2, and then month 3. And I was like, yeah, I still can't see a story in it. And then I started looking at weeks. And this is where it got interesting for me, because I started to see stories of this, just the smaller charts. And so, you know, I started to see patterns, and I started to see these zeros or these dips, and I was like, maybe there's something there. And then as I was looking at it, I was like, it kind of looks like musical notation. I was like, that's something interesting. Like, we're working with AT&T right now on this product for elderly people, and we're trying to make a product that's going to detect patterns, and when it discovers a difference in the pattern, it's going to alert a person. It's going to say, hey, the pattern changed, maybe something's wrong. And I thought, well, how do you see those patterns? Like, that's kind of weird. Well, maybe you could hear those patterns. And so I was like, what if that's a line of music? So I was like, I got out my iPad and I got my piano app and I sat down and I looked at it. Shit, I don't know how to play the piano. So I wrote a program to play the piano for me. So hopefully this speaker like plays all this back. So I wrote this program that plays it for me. So this is the first week, and then the second week, and then I was like, well, what would happen if I like got sick or broke my leg? So I wrote one that was like just weird, and it went. And it's different. And I was like, oh, like, okay, there's something there. Like, and so I actually showed it to our client at AT&T, and I was like, I don't even know if you can market this, but it's cool, and it's different, and it's kind of like delightful. And he was like, I totally agree. This is amazing. Like, you can hear the changes in a person's life. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like my wife is always talking about how she wants her life, she wants the world to be more like a musical. She wants it to be like an episode of Glee. She's like in the middle of the day, in the center of the operating room at the animal hospital. She's like, I want everyone to break out into song and choreographed dance. Like, that's what she wants in life. And I was like, a person's life could be music. I was like, well, maybe I could make that for her. So I started playing with this a little bit more, and let's find a good one. So then I wrote this program to look at a little bit more information. So I started saying, like, what does the soundtrack of my elevation sound like? You know, and it's not, I mean, you have to understand that it's not a composed piece of music, it's a piece of your life. And I was like, huh. And then I wrote one that you can actually watch, show you what week it is as it's playing. And I was like, that's something. But then I was kind of like, what if I took 2 years of data and I didn't just do the elevation? What if I took like a bunch of stuff that they give you? What if I took like my elevation and I made that the melody, and I took like my body fat percentage and I used that as a rhythm section and pitched it differently based on my body fat? And then they give you fairly active minutes, and I was like, well, maybe there's a solo track in your fairly active minutes. And I was like, you know, that's cool, but these charts still look like this stupid activity chart of pedometers. And I was like, and I don't want that. It's like, I want this to be more like The Sound of Music and like with balloons. So I made this. This basically is just the soundtrack of the activity that I did, starting in October of 2011, and it'll just walk through it'll walk through all of my data until it gets to today. And the cool thing about this, I think, is that just by simply having this thing in my pocket and doing the things I do every day, I'm kind of writing a song. I'm writing a composition that will become the length of my life. And when I do something interesting, hopefully this will do something interesting. And so this is kind of where the evolution of it is right now, is that, you know, what would happen if I got a real musician who knew how to really compose and understood time signature and all those things to help me with this and maybe, I don't know, maybe like play with the pitches or like do whatever. I think it can become something interesting anyway. And then I started to see this other stuff. So like, I don't know if you guys have seen Pat-a-Tap. It made the rounds over the last couple days.
Yeah, really cool.
But it's not that much different, which is kind of neat to me. So Pat-a-Tap is like this thing that you use your keyboard. It works on phones and on tablets too, and you can just touch it to make that run. Come on. It's been a little slow. Here we go. Like you just press random keys. It just does random things. And then I was like, huh. I looked at the merchandise, and this is actually funny to me. This is one of the people who made that, and they sell a CD, and it has this song on it. I don't want to buy it. I just want to listen to it. There it is. And I was like, that sounds a lot like me. And I was like, wow.
They stole you!
So
Oh
like,
my gosh.
if a musician actually got a hold of this, they could do something kind of interesting. And then I also saw this one where it's like, this one generates flowers. And I was like, you could totally do that too. So instead of having like balloons and like running around on like this weird green hill that I like made in a program, like all these flowers could be representations of data.
If you're not active, your flower is dead.
Yeah, exactly. Like Carl could kill his flower.
Give me a week.
Give him a week. So that's the thing, is that I think that taking, so, you know, we talk about how we use data to tell stories. I think this is like, hopefully an inspirational or an interesting way of doing something like that. And I want to evolve it. I want to see more of this stuff kind of get built like this, and sort of evolve through time. And like, as we're working with our clients and as we're thinking about, you know, what can we do that's sort of different? Because honestly, like that's what's going to keep us relevant to our clients. It's when we get complacent and they start telling us what to do or telling us what the next thing is that's when we're in jeopardy. As long as we're pushing this stuff and doing weird things, I think that that's really cool. And so, you know, hopefully if you guys have any weird ideas, I can help you build some of them.
That's cool.
Wow.